From a New York Times bestseller to a blockbuster new film, this holiday season 20th Century Fox hopes the fantasy adventure Eragon can cast a spell on audiences, just like a similar mystical tale, The Lord of the Rings. This one is the story of a young farm boy, his dragon, and his mentor, fighting to defend their homeland against an evil king. Take a look.
The story was about you, Eragon. It is your fate to be a dragon rider. The Varden need a rider if they are to defeat Durza and the king.
I didn't ask for any of this.
But you were chosen, nevertheless. A dragon will only hatch if it feels the presence of its rider. It'll wait forever if it has to. But now it's found you. It will serve you and only you, and that's put your life in danger.
And the guru himself, actor Jeremy Irons, joins us this morning. Jeremy, so good to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
Thanks
Good morning.
for doing this. You know, watching this movie, I keep remembering that this is a story that was written by a teenager as a book. Were you familiar with the book when you got the project?
I wasn't. It's not sort of my normal reading. But as soon as when I read the script, and I thought this is great because it has a sort of a gentleness and a sentiment to it, which is unusual in this sort of fantasy.
It's a delightful little film, and we should tell folks it's about the age of dragons.
Yeah.
And you are this former dragon rider, and most of the dragons have been killed, and then he comes along with the dragon. We see one of the co-stars in there, which is this dragon with a 30-foot wingspan. Is this all on computer, or did you see any dragon while you were shooting?
No, we tried shooting with dragons to start with, but you know, they're very difficult to control. They never do what you ask them.
Was it mechanical, or was it
No, a real dragon. I mean, we were in shooting in Hungary, where they still have dragons, and so we were. No, but seriously. It was computer generated. It wasn't there when we were there in the forest, although we knew through a series of sort of rods and discs, we knew where it was going to be three-dimensionally.
Does a movie like this give you a chance to kind of reach out to a different audience? Because this will be primarily a younger viewer for a film like this.
Yeah, Chris was 16 when he wrote this, and I think it plays directly to that generation. Although, I have to say, I mean, this isn't my normal sort of movie that I'll go and see, but my wife and I saw it and had a great time. So it's great for adults as well. But I think the strength is that it's written by a boy of the same generation as the hero in the movie.
And the hero of the movie is an 18-year-old boy, or a relative newcomer. I know there was a huge search for someone to play this part. Yeah. Did you end up, in the film, you're playing a mentor, but in real life, were you somewhat of an acting mentor?
Rarely. I mean, sometimes he would come to me with a particular specific problem, and I was able to push him in the right direction. But he had great instincts of his own, so he didn't need me much.
It's a fun part to play.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I love that part of the world. I always look for a good story and an interesting character. And when I get to ride a horse as well a lot, then I'm even happier.
And I was going to ask you about that, because there's a lot of scenes where you're on the horse. Yeah. Are you a horseman?
I am. I've always been a horseman.
All right. And in addition to the horse riding, there's some scenes with a sword. And you seem pretty good with a sword.
Sword play, stick play. I had to learn a bit. We have a stick fight in this, and it has sort of Eastern qualities. I wasn't sure of some of the moves, so I had to practice that a lot. But I like movies where I do a lot of movies where it's very cerebral, but I like movies where there's a bit of action, where I can, because making movies is sometimes quite boring. It's
don't ruin the fantasy for us, Jeremy Irons. So nice to have you here. Thanks so much for stopping by. And we want folks to know that Eragon is now in movie theaters nationwide.